Well, this is the coming generation that will face the consequences of past folly, and nowhere is past folly more evident than in the Middle East and in the wider Muslim world, where the crimes of imperialism are now 150 or so years old, and of course instability and even war in the Middle East means instability in the world, and so it's really important to take this message to the new generation.
Your life has been one of politics.
Yeah.
From being a 13-year-old. Did you ever expect to be where you are now when you started off?
No, but I expected to spend a political life.
Yes.
Wherever that went, and there have been ups and downs, you know. Once I wanted to be Prime Minister, now I just want to speak to the students in Exeter, because that's more important use of my time, I think, than making up the numbers in the House of Commons. No, I never set out with a plan or written on the back of a menu or anything else. I'm not a Michael Heseltine, but I always intended to spend a political life, and by the grace of God, I've been able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, moving on to the controversial issues. Do you think you're viewed correctly? Do you think the public perception of you is appropriate?
Well, first let me deal with this issue of controversial. If you'd spoken to me 3 weeks ago, I would have told you that Netanyahu was a liar at whose face I couldn't look, and you would have thought that was controversial.
Yes.
But we now know that that's the view of President Sarkozy and President Obama.
Yeah.
So what seems to be controversial on the surface isn't necessarily so. I give just one other example. The first time, but not the last, that the Sun newspaper ran a picture of me on its front page under the headline "Traitor" was when I spoke at a rally in Dublin with Gerry Adams and Martin McGuinness. What we didn't know then, maybe the Sun didn't even know, was that at that very time Mrs. Thatcher herself was holding secret discussions with the very same two gentlemen. So what seems to be controversial isn't always. And the second point is that yesterday's controversies are today's orthodoxies.
Yeah.
When I started out fighting for Palestine, for example, in the midsummer of 1975, you could have fitted all the supporters of the Palestinians in Britain in this room very comfortably, with two elephants at the end. But that's not true now. Now everybody knows that Palestine is the heart of the matter, and here we are sitting in the living proof of that. So I think that on the big controversies, Ireland, Palestine, the war in Iraq, I've been proven right and my critics wrong. So I guess that makes me the orthodox and them controversial. I mean, someone who said there's no such thing as a Palestinian, as Golda Meir, the Prime Minister of Israel, said in 1968, which whatever you think is not that ancient history, if anyone said that now, people would laugh at them. So on the big questions, I think I've been vindicated. As to the public, I have a huge public that watches my television shows, listens to my radio shows, comes to talks like this. My diary is full. I'm content with how people see me, and I think that events are moving, marching in our direction.
Yeah. Moving away from Palestine, the country is at a crossroads, as it were, really.
Our country.
Yes. In a lot of ways. How would you approach moving forward in the next 10, 15 years?
Well, being half an Irishman myself, I'm entitled to answer that question in the traditional Irish way of, I wouldn't have started from here. We wouldn't be in this mess if the views that we stand for had greater strength in the country. We're in a mess because we have followed a model of basically Anglo-Saxon, certainly Anglo-American capitalism, which has proved disastrous for both sides of the Atlantic. We have destroyed our industrial base. We have built up instead a casino economy based around financial services, most of them so obscure that you need a PhD to understand them, derivatives and all of that. And it's collapsing now around our ears. So we have a real political and economic crisis. The political crisis is less visible than the economic crisis at the minute, but the political crisis is in a sense more important. We have 3 front benches in the Parliament who on most issues form an ironclad consensus. If an arse could have 3 cheeks, they would look like the 3 cheeks of Labour, Tory and Lib Dem front benches. And until we can break out of that, we're going to follow the same old, same old. In Europe, the situation is, of course, more febrile. We're witnessing what are effectively coups d'etat against the governments of Greece and Italy, who've been ordered to get rid of their prime ministers. In one case, I'm very happy that he's gone, but the method by which these 2 prime ministers was removed is a portent, I think, of things to come. And bankers are being forced into the prime minister's chairs when it was the bankers that got us into this mess in the first place. And if they were the solution, how come we have the problem?